All right, so hey, people of God, this is Rashana B back with On My Way Up Movement. Y'all, I just want to give y'all a quick word, okay? I want you all to understand that if you are frontline warriors, meaning you have survived things that are only written in horror books, you have survived things that people can't even fathom or believe really occurred. I mean, they're just surreal. And yeah, you have lived to talk and tell about it and still have joy and a song in your heart. You have went on the enemy camp, done him damage, and been able to come back and talk and tell about it as a testimony. The enemy has yet to silence you, no matter what type of petty, provocative, evil, diabolical plots and schemes that he has sown against you and anything and everyone that concerneth you. You are still managing to fight. You still got enough gas to keep going. And the enemy knows you are a frontline warrior. If you don't, now you know. And what I want to tell you, frontline warrior, not everybody is designed to fight on the front lines. That's why it's called frontline warriors. You got some that fight in the back, some that fight in the middle. You got some that even fight from the trees. But you are a front line. That means you trying to survive on flyby prayers is not going to work for you. As a frontline warrior, you need to be armored up. Your helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, shield of faith, sword of the spirit, belt of truth, shoes of peace, and even put on your necklace of discernment and wisdom. You have got to understand, being lazy and only settling for flyby prayers will get you killed, annihilated by the enemy. All he needs to do is get a small finger claw into your armor, because he's searching for one tiny kink. Before you know it, because he knows that you are powerful, he is trying to take you down as swiftly as possible. Okay, he will yank that armor off of you, and you will be completely discombobulated, confused, and debilitated. Okay, and in the middle of war, you cannot afford that. If you look at the prophets of old, Moses, especially David, they always sought a man of God or God himself and asked, "Shall I go up?" and waited on a tactic. You only get tactics via prayer, praying in the spirit, setting a time, a space, and a quiet time to get information downloaded into your spirit. Because you need it, because you cannot afford to go into war without a tactic or without any type of, ability or just knowledge on how you are going to overcome battle. That is not a place for you to wait to ask God, "Shall I go up, and what should I do?" Joshua, when he went before he got to Jericho, he knew what he was doing. Before David went to wars, he knew what he needed to do. Okay, there are things that only prayer, alone time, solitary, praying in the spirit, blocking out the issues of life. God is practical. God understands that we deal with practical issues on a daily basis. We have husbands, family, we have children, we have jobs, careers, businesses, and we can't always just set aside hours on end for prayer. That would be awesome if we could, but a lot of us can't. But what you can't do is just keep surviving on these flyby prayers and just these prayers on the go. You need those two to keep you throughout the day. Praise breaks, praying a little on your lunch break, praying as you're driving, things of that nature, maybe praying while you're on hold or something, or in a waiting line or whatever. But I'm saying, if Jesus himself had to get away from his disciples and apostles, set a time, alone time, to get tactic, to get strategy, how much more do you think that you do, warrior? How much do you watchmen that is on the wall? The watchmen on the wall, those are those who are sitting on the wall and looking for the enemy. They're waiting to see the enemy try to come before he even get near the camp. Those who are dreamer of dreams, those who are visionaries. You cannot afford to survive on topical, superficial, flyby, elementary prayers. Okay, you are a frontline warrior. You need to be chewing on meat. You need to be meditating on me. You need to be meditating. The best time for me to pray is in the wee hours of the night between 12 and 3. I can hear the Lord so clearly. Okay. If you're waiting for the issues of life to calm down, it's not going to happen. Life is going to continue to pull at you. This is why the book of Matthew talk about the cares of life choking the word of God out of you, choking the seed out of you, because it will do that. You have to be intentional. Okay, about setting aside time with God. Let me tell y'all something. If I haven't said it before, you haven't heard me say it. When you are used to hearing from God and you no longer hear from God, it feels like you're in your own private hell. Okay, it is a curse not to hear the voice of God. It is a curse to not know which way to go. The Bible talks about it in Deuteronomy that one of the curses of disobedience is groping in the daylight like a blind man. Ooh, that is awful. You cannot afford to grope around life like a blind man, especially in broad daylight, okay? That is a curse, and that is something when you can't hear the voice of God. People who are familiar with the voice of God, people who have been blessed tremendously, God, and led to safe waters due to the voice of God, know exactly where I'm coming from. Do not take the voice of God for granted. Let me tell you something. I've had times that I did, and when warfare hit me, because the enemy doesn't give you a heads up, and when warfare hit me and I was in the battlefield, y'all, and I felt confusion trying to overtake me. I felt the feeling of being overwhelmed trying to discombobulate me. But I'm a frontline warrior, and I know how to just stop and say, God, I miss you. I need you. I have got to hear from you. I cannot get out of this if you don't give me strategy. You don't want to go through life spinning your wheels, chasing your tail. That's what you do. When you don't hear the voice of God, you strive unnecessarily hard, okay? You go through unnecessarily wear and tear, warfare, affliction, and tribulation. You do not want that. Why settle for that when all you got to do is call on our Abba? All you got to do is call on our God. Just recently, y'all, I'm telling you, I just went through something like that. And if it was not for the voice of God, y'all, I don't know if I would have been able to come out of that thing. You hear me? Because the enemy, me being a frontline warrior, he's very threatened by us, okay? God has given us a grace that, we can go through the most terriblest things and don't break and don't fold. Okay, but if you're not hearing the voice of God, you're going to break, you're going to fold, and God is faithful. He's going to pick you back up. But why even fold? Why even stay down in the pits longer than you have to, waiting on a word from God when you can already have the word within you? Also, reading your word is important, okay? The word of God gives you plain, clear directions, specifically Proverbs. That is the book of wisdom. So people of God, my frontline warriors, my watchmen, dreamers, visionaries, people of God, pioneers, those who are busting through iron gates. You're the first to do certain things in your bloodline. You can't play. Don't play with it. Do not play with it. I'm telling you, don't think that you can make it by superficial, topical, flyby prayers. Get alone with God. He is your friend. He is your Abba. He got your back. He's down for you in a way that nobody ever else will be. He will never forsake, lead, nor abandon you. He will always see to it that you win. Just seek him. He has all the answers. Y'all have a blessed one. I'll be back with another word.